Hey guys, as probably most of you know, some weeks ago, there was the whole Rings of Power teaser trailer for the upcoming Amazon series, and I actually never made time to review it or to share my thoughts on it. Luckily, this week I was a bit less busy with my other projects, and I decided to allocate some time to actually getting this done. So we'll be going over the trailer together, and I'll just be sharing my first impressions. So at the start, I really like, let's say, the design they chose. I'm pretty sure this is Numernor, and I like what they went with. I mean, I can tell, sure, there is an element of CGI, but there would be nothing that would really stand out to me that would say bother me in any way. It's expected. There's that CGI element, but I think they captured the nature of Numernor and the grandiose, let's say, atmosphere of Lord of the Rings so far. Now, even though we're still early on, this is probably, let's say, one of my bigger complaints in the trailer. And I would say it's one of the things which scares me the most from a direction point of view, because this is clearly a hobbit. And I have no idea why they're trying to insert hobbits into this time period. Sure, they existed back then, but they weren't really relevant to the story. They didn't do much. It's just, hey, the hobbits were here at this moment in time, but they don't fit into the story. And let's say from a direction point of view, this really scares me that perhaps the way they're going about in the series, it's like a nostalgia trip. They're making too many, let's say, forced connections to the Lord of the Rings, things which just aren't relevant for that time period. It's like being forced in, it bothers me. Here's, I would say something I'm quite cautious about. I'm not looking forward to saying it. I really don't think it's going to add much, and I would worry that, in terms of the people building upon the project, they wouldn't have really understood what let's say, the real audience would want out of it. So again, we have more CGI. This is actually Galadriel jumping across some icy, some icy hill. No, some icy cliff. I mean, it could be Helcaraxet, it could be somewhere in Forodwaite. But again, as far as we know, or again, from what was written, there's nothing of this sort in the book. So they're just creating a new storyline, which I wouldn't have been totally against. I totally understand why some changes would be necessary, from the books to the movie, to the series. And they could have made some cool storylines from it. Just, okay, how would they fit it in, and would it be necessary? And again, would Galadriel have been such a big player during that time period? Was she more of an active warrior? Or, was she I suppose, guiding the other three people from Lothlorien? So yeah, that's another cautious point, I suppose. So again, before, I did mention, the whole CGI and all of that. This is again something which bothers me. It's like a fancy elf. Oh, he caught an arrow, now he's gonna, shoot it back. It's, I don't know, maybe in terms of direction, they're just going for that big flare up of a lot of action, a lot of fancy moves, And we did get that sort, to be fair, in Lord of the Rings, when you had Legolas, sliding down on that Uruk shield, or when he slid down the Mumakil, I suppose. So we've had that in the Lord of the Rings. If this is a one-off, sure, but hopefully the combat wouldn't be filled with these sorts of scenes and lots of slow-mo. I think there would be cooler ways to depict the elves. To be honest, from the scene, would I have imagined that this is an elf from the Lord of the Rings? Not really. It seems much more similar to the elves from Narnia or something from The Witcher. Those woodland rebellious elves, rather than the nobility we see in the Lord of the Rings. I imagine this is Galadriel looking at a troll. To be honest, I don't mind the troll design. I'm glad they would go for something more unique compared to, what we've seen in Lord of the Rings. They chose to go down their own path on how they can envision such a creature. So I'm cool with that. Obviously it's CGI, but it looks okay. It doesn't bother me. Looks fine. Even again, locations look awesome. Now, this is something I think they aced amazingly. The dwarfs look super. In The Hobbit, they looked great. But to me, they act so far, again, from what we've seen from the Rings of Power, these dwarfs look perfect. They're exactly how I'd have imagined dwarfs. It doesn't seem as if there's a lot of makeup or anything of that sort. So yeah, credit where it's due. Amazon really nailed the dwarfs. Like, to me at least, they look amazing. So yeah, the next two scenes are kind of things which bother me also. I kind of feel bad. It's like there are so many things which I wasn't really pleased with in the teaser trailer. It's almost like a chunk of criticism. But again, these are just small things here and there, at least, and then I'll just give at least my thoughts on the big picture later on. So from this scene and the one which is upcoming, we kind of get things or storylines which wouldn't have appeared or never appeared in, the mythology of Middle-earth. So this is like, from what I can understand, some guy checking out this woman's ears, which I suppose is to distinguish whether she's an elf or a human. Again, it kind of seems weird. It's something you'd normally see in the Witcher series, in the Witcher world, that whole almost a conflict, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends how they would depict it. But from what we used to see, or from the books, it's almost like the human race of men and race of elves, they knew about each other's existence. They kind of did their own thing. Sometimes they worked together or their paths crossed, but there never was this whole showdown of, oh, I'm gonna hide, I'm an elf, or anything of that sort. So it's a bit of a weird scene. The next one, to be honest, I mean, it looks cool, definitely, it's like epic, all that fire, but this one confuses me even more. Like, I have no idea what event this might be depicting. And what would really, I wouldn't say spook me, but again, that sort of caution is that, like, being that's holding the guy's hand on the left, is that the hobbit that we saw earlier? The hair kind of looks like it, perhaps even, let's say, the size of the person, and that's that big confounding or scary factor of, if this is the hobbit, why is it in the storyline? Why are they including it, especially in this like sort of bombastic scene? I just really hope I'm wrong. I really hope it's not a hobbit. I don't know. But yeah, it's not really confident on that, or the idea, I haven't gotten behind it. More awesome dwarfs, amazing, can't grumble there. Yeah, combat scenes, not a massive fan. It's like messy, This is something which I can say used to bother me a lot in The Hobbit compared to The Lord of the Rings. That even though The Hobbit was, let's say, filmed or made at a much later time, years apart, the way the combat was done with the CGI, perhaps even the camera angles, you don't get a feeling of what is happening. And that used to really bother me. Like, when you take The Lord of the Rings, you had that almost grittiness, that feeling of, okay, so these are real people, these are real orcs. And to be honest, I'm not entirely sure if this battle scene from the Rings of Power, it's CGI. If the orcs are CGI, they don't really look like it, but there's still that almost clustering, that messiness. If it's used again for some past, to showcase some past event, which some rumors are saying it is, it's not a big deal. It's kind of like the prologue of the Fellowship of the Ring, when we had the battle, of the Last Alliance, which was also a bit messy. But I hope any other battle scenes that we might see will follow that distinctness from The Lord of the Rings. So that's basically it, and I'm sorry for almost rambling or jumping from point to point. I was just sharing my thoughts as the trailer goes on. And now perhaps I can give like a more concise idea of my thoughts on the series. So let's put it this way. If you see my past videos, I've always encouraged the community not to be negative. Like, there was a massive negative backlash for any sort of news, and it was just breeding a lot of toxicity. And it would almost be like a self-fulfilling prophecy that people are expecting not to enjoy the series. And so once it actually comes out, they won't give it a chance. They'll be sure it's going to be a failure. They're going to watch it with a negative outlook at the start. And that would be really harmful. It's setting it up for failure, and I encouraged caution. I said, let's give it a shot. Amazon's, they put so much money in it. I hope they could nail it. I'm still hopeful. I still think it's a teaser trailer, not a full trailer. Perhaps they were trying to grab people's attention, which is kind of the purpose. I don't know if it's actually what I would have wanted, but something to note is when it comes to these teaser trailers, they're not exactly targeting fans of the material necessarily, but they might be trying to attract also a new audience who might be into these things. So when we see it from the perspective of someone who likes the material or is familiar with it, we'll be like, okay, so why did they change this? What's this hobbit doing there? Why is there all that fire scene and all of that? And, all those, let's say, cool factors, which seem like excessive CGI or excessive action. And it could simply be, rather than it's a good indication of what the series will be like, it's just a way to target a new audience. And if that's the case, I have no problem with it, as long as they can capture the heart of the story. So yeah, on that note, if you had to ask me, am I as hyped for the series? I would say less. I'm like erring on caution. I hope they can manage to do it well. But will I still check it out? Definitely. Do I hope it does well 100%? It'd be amazing. I'd love to have as much Lord of the Rings material as possible. So yeah, I hope they know what they're doing, because there are, again, those things which worry me. You have, do these guys understand what made the Lord of the Rings successful? Do they understand that it's almost the heart, the relationships, the characters which are important, rather than simply the mythology and the battle scenes? Because if so, like the whole Galadriel in battle armor, maybe forcing her storyline, all of those bombastic combat scenes, those would be, to me, an indication that maybe they went down the wrong path. So yeah, let's give them a chance and we'll see where it goes. Just on a small note, something I would have loved to see in the teaser trailer, which to be fair would be targeting the Lord of the Rings fans, would be, let's say at the ending, that we get a shot of Sauron when he was still in disguise as Anatar, and he's greeting or meeting Celebrimbor and the elves of Eregion. And that would have been a really cool way to end the teaser, in my opinion. It's like giving an indication of what's to come, perhaps in the final trailer or even in the actual series. And something like that would have given me a lot of confidence that maybe they know what they're doing with the material. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a big fanboy of all of that stuff, So I can't exclude that. But yeah, guys, I'd honestly love to hear your thoughts on this trailer. What did you like? Do you agree with my points? Do you think that, this teaser trailer was meant for new fans rather than returning ones? And all of that. Your thoughts on the dwarves, the elves, the CGI, the trolls, the hobbits. I'd love to hear anyone who's happy with the hobbit inclusion and their thoughts on it. So just write them in the comments below. I'd really love to read them. In the meantime, guys, I'm hoping to publish more often, as I've been saying for a while. I'm working on some other projects. There's this game which I was in charge of game design, lore, character creation, and we're making a ton of progress. And once that slows down a bit, I'll be dedicating more time to this channel. Things are already looking really good, in terms of my own free time, which is why I can actually record my videos now. So yeah, I think this year would be pretty good for this channel. In the meantime, guys, take care, and share any thoughts you have in the comments below.